As we saw in part 1 on how to create the application, we're going to go a little further now and start adding in ESLint and some other utilities that you need for development. And then we will eventually get into creating some pages and showing how to do some routes. Let's go back to the code. Now, to run test, you want to run the test to make sure that nothing is broken, and this will start. So this is the default test script that starts running. And notice that this list is a very short list. We'll get into that shortly. Now, all the tests ran. It opened up another window in Karma. And this is because we're not running a headless browser by default. And I will show you how to get around that in just a moment. So we will stop that, kill that. Let's get into setting up some basic things that we need. So a lint program, L-I-N-T. A linting program, I first became aware of lint when I was learning C back in the late 70s, early 80s. Lint is something that helps you, it's a static analyzer. It looks at your code and looks for errors. It's the best way I can explain it. So lint is something that you really should have. And ESLint is what we expect to use on an Angular application. Let's go to the ESLint web page just so that you can see. This is eslint.org, and here it's talking about find and fix problems in your JavaScript code. So ESLint is specific for JavaScript. This used to be TSLint because of TypeScript, but now they're using ESLint. That switched over, I forget what version, I think it was 9, might have been 7, Angular 7, or no, I think it was 9. But anyway, they switched over to use ESLint. They used to have TSLint built into the project by default, but now they don't have it there. It's something that I feel more comfortable when I have a linting program checking my code while I'm working. We want to run this command right here, and we're going to run that. Let's install ESLint in our application. You up arrow and down arrow to select, and you want to take the default in this case, which is to check syntax and find problems. And we're going to say none of these because this is for React and Vue as well. So we're not going to select React or Vue. Yes, it does. My code runs, Angular runs in the browser. So we're going to pick browser here. Would you like to install them now? I'm going to say yes. And which package manager do you use? NPM. I'm going to select that. So I select it by just hitting enter. Okay. So that is installed. And we can see up here that we have ESLint config now all set up. The next thing I want to do is I want to make sure that my editor is set up to use ESLint. Now, in WebStorm, you want to go into your settings and you want to type ESLint. You don't want to disable it, and I'm going to select automatic ESLint configuration. And you can check this if you want to run ESLint-fix on save. I don't want to run the fix automatically. I want to manually check that myself. I'm going to apply that. I'm going to say OK. So ESLint is now, I'm going to add that to the get. So that is now set up. Let's go over the folder structure. Things have changed slightly with version 18. This is 19. Public is a brand new folder. Public is where you put all your static resources. Your fave icon goes here. So styles has always been here. And notice because I picked SCSS when I said to generate the app, it created a styles sass file. Otherwise, this would have been a CSS by default. This is where you would put all your styles for that. Let's start back at the top here. .angular is a cache folder. This is strictly for cache for the Angular application, and I can add that to my get ignore, because we really don't want that going into GitHub. And I'm going to add VS Code as well. .idea, that is created by WebStorm. This is the cache for the IDE, and this is the cache for Visual Studio Code. This is created by default. I'm not using Visual Studio Code, but if I were, it would be using that as the cache. This is the node modules that got installed. So whenever you do an npm install, this is where it's going to go. This is huge. It can be several 100,000 files in there. A lot of those files are very small. Those are library components, and they are small modules. And if you need to look up something, you can go in here and discover it. Now public, as I said a moment ago, public is where the fave icon goes now, and your assets would go in here. So we can go ahead and create an assets folder right now. Assets. And then I like to put my sass under that. So I'm going to create another sass folder in there. So in public I have assets, sass, and then I have fave icon. Let's close the get ignore and the readme. Let's close readme for now. In our application, this is where your apps go. Now what I do is I will right click here, saying new Angular schematic, and this will bring up all the schematics available. I say component. Notice that you can still create a module. You can create all of these things. You can do these same things down at the command line. I just find it much easier to use it right here. But if I create a component with this as my selected folder, it will create the component as a subfolder under app. So app right now just contains these files. These files are the ones that actually start up. Here's your app config. Here's your app routes. I'll show you how to create routes. And here's your application HTML. Now here they put the styles, they embedded the styles in the application. So when you go and you look at your app, all of this is coming out of here. Okay? All lines above this router outlet can be deleted. And that's what I do. So I'll delete that, and then I can start fresh on my application. So in your sass here, this is the sass that's specific to this. You don't want to put your generic here. You want to put your generics, your global, not your generic. You want to put your global not in here, but down in here. And this will contain your global styles. So it says global. Now, you'll notice up here in my assets, I created a sass. So if I create a sass folder, I want to create a style sheet, and I want to create a sass file, and I'm going to do an underscore color dot. I don't need to give a dot just because I selected sass here. I just say underscore color, press enter, and it will create that. If I go back down to style CSS, I can now import. I'm going to delete that line because I don't need that. And color. Now notice that color is not really an option and is giving me an error. We're going to take care of that. Now to fix the error for the styling, I'm going to go into Angular JSON, and I'm going to look for the architect. So there's projects. Here's my demo app. Here's architect. And here's build. And here's assets and styles. So I want to go just above styles, and I'm going to insert this. I got this from another project. I'm going to modify this to get from public. So this will locate any sass include, which is denoted by the underscore, and it'll automatically include that. So if I save this and I go back into my styles, the error's gone away, because now if I do a control click, it takes me to the color sass. So my editor automatically filled that in. I didn't have to do anything with that, it just knew. So the editor automatically knew that that's how it should be done. Let's discuss the error that is occurring here. I wasn't expecting this because I was expecting SCSS, but this is SASS, so I need to change the name of that. So refactor, rename, and if I change this to SCSS, the error should go away. And it does. My error's down here. Let's see if I can rerun this. Okay, now the server is not complaining. So let's go back over that again. The styles, so I got the whole thing in there. I don't need all of that. All I need is just color. And because of this preprocessor option, it knows where to look for that color. So I can put all my color in there and it will show up. It'll be included here. So that was done in my Angular JSON. One thing to note, I included this here, but I also need to include it in the testing. So note that this is in the build. Here's the serve. Serve, I don't need to do that, but in the test, I do. Build, serve, and then this is the test. So I want to put this in right above styles, just like I had above. So I'm going to inject that in there. This is now in the test and in, why do I need to do it in the test and in the build? The build is separate from the test. If you get into CI/CD, you're going to run test before you do a build. Some people want to do a build first. I prefer to run the test first, so I'm not wasting time doing a build that is on failing code. So I run all my tests, and then I do my build after the tests have passed. What Angular does here is it sets it up so that your tests are going to do a complete build. Think of it as a build in memory, not actually creating the dist folder. So when you do a build, a dist folder will appear up here. Let's do a build here just to demonstrate that. So it's going to build, and here's the dist folder. Now I have an error here, SASS. So somewhere I have SASS, but everything is actually showing SCSS. If there's a problem with that, it's going to be in this file. This is the Angular. So that's not here. So I have SCSS, which is what I expect. So I'm good there. It's complaining about that. So let's dig into this and figure out what the problem is. Did I give the wrong command when I told it to build? I said style is sass, SCSS. Do a global search. Interesting. Oh, so this is a module sass. This is in the lock file. It's generated whenever you run the build, and that is So for SCSS, you're also going to be using the SASS. I've not run across this error before. It's an opportunity just to show you how to figure out what's going on. So let's try clearing cache. So in WebStorm and IntelliJ and all the IDEs that are from JetBrains, you can go and invalidate cache. Go to your file, go down to invalidate cache. I check all the boxes here, invalidate and restart. This will close. If you have multiple editors open, it will restart every editor that you've got open. So this has an error. Let's start this up again, see if the error goes away. I still have an error. Okay. Notice that I have Copilot installed. If you have a GitHub repository, there's a paid version and there's now a free version of Copilot. The free version is a trimmed down version, and it allows you to so let's go into finding out why this is an error. I'm going to copy this and I'm going to paste it in here and let Copilot analyze it. Now, Copilot has the ability to look at everything in my code here, and it will see everything. So it's saying that in my, let's close these so that we have more room here. In my Angular, so I know this is in the Angular JSON. So styles, options, styles right here. That's correct. I don't see any issue with that. It may be that this has changed somehow. Public assets, sass. So that include path may not be correct. Let's try that. Rebuild. It's still having a problem finding that. So it should take me, and it does. Takes me there. So I don't see any problem. Make sure styles file located in the source directory and that any imported mixins are also correctly placed and formatted. So we check this. That's in the testing area. There's got to be something with this right here. Comment this out. So it doesn't, this is a JSON, and it really doesn't like commenting lines in it, but that's okay. I just want to see what the, it shows the same thing. Style preprocessor option. That doesn't appear to be an issue. When I go here, this actually pulls it up. And if I go over here, yeah. So what this does is when I have a file open and I click on this, it'll take me to that file. So when I was in Styles, I do a Control click, takes me to this file. I want to see where this file is, because if I have multiple underscore color sass or CS sass files in there, this will isolate it and tell me which one this is coming from. All right, so that is the correct place. All right, so I passed in the error message here, deprecated plugin Angular Sass, to Copilot, and Copilot said to install this, make sure it's installed correctly. So I'm going to try that just to make sure. So npm, I'm going to copy that, paste it there. Go back to the run, and that seems to have fixed it. Okay, so in this case, the reason I was getting an error is not because of my configuration. My configuration is correct. It's just that I had an older version of the Sass compiler. So I just needed to install that, and I'm good to go. Let's review what we've done so far. We've added ESLint. Globals, I'm not sure what that was, but that's something probably related to ESLint. And then I added sass. So sass was not there. I do have sass globally, and it's probably an older version, and that's probably why that error occurred. So I added it. This is all in the dev dependencies. Nothing changed up here. So, and then I added sass, and when I added the ESLint, it also added this TypeScript ESLint. So that's our configuration so far. And I'm going to commit those just so that we have them in there. I hope this video has helped you. Please like and subscribe, and we will continue to make more videos. Thank you.